Okay, so I'm posting this kind of late because I was um, holding out hope that I would finish my goal of 27 books this year, but I'm not going to. Like, it's gonna be 26 and that's it. But let's talk about some books that I read during the second semester of 2024. And from worst to best, because that's the correct order to put things. Let's go.
If I had a cliff, I would jump off it right now.
So, yeah, the worst book I read by far over the course of this semester was On the Road. It's about a guy in the 40s and 50s, and he goes traveling around in a car with his bestie. Sometimes he's alone. I have an entire video on this one, so if you wanna hear me complain about it, go watch that one. Basically, I simply do not get it. I don't get what people see in it. I don't get why it's a classic. Moving on.
You should always at least have one gay experience. One good gay one.
It's a big book containing Sherlock Holmes stories written not by Conan Doyle. As you might know, collections of short stories are almost always a mixed bag. There are good mysteries, bad mysteries, mysteries that aren't even traditional mysteries, and so many parodies. And they're never funny. I wanna grab all the authors who wrote Sherlock Holmes satire by the neck and say, listen here, I was born in 2001. 150 years or something separate me from these stories, and only on very select occasions did the logic feel wonky. Why are these stories don't warrant parodies like that? I mean, I'm talking about the original stories by Conan Doyle, because they write the parodies are like, ooh, it's so stupid, like the logic, when I should be the one saying that, and I'm not saying that, so why are you saying that? You know what I mean? And also, I realized just how insanely difficult it is to write Sherlock Holmes as a character. Honestly, it gave me a newfound appreciation for the BBC series. I know it's not perfect, but hey, both Watson and Holmes are perfect as far as I remember. And going through these stories, even good authors who wrote amazing mysteries didn't really get it. Everyone seems to have an idea of who Sherlock Holmes is, and I honestly don't even remember what he was like originally. My brain is just full of elementary, my dear Watson, and you know my methods, and all those other Sherlock Holmes cliches, which, by the way, in the Conan Doyle stories, Sherlock Holmes says the words elementary, my dear Watson, like twice. In conclusion, I feel like I have to reread all the Conan Doyle books to get a sense of who this character is again. But it was also weirdly comforting knowing that no matter what, Sherlock and Watson are going to keep running around Victorian London until the end of time is so nice. I sleep better at night knowing that they're still out there, you know what I mean? Oh, and there was a story where an explanation for the Mary Celeste was offered, which I thought was really cool, even though it was stretching the believability a little bit. Like, I'll go with the theory that everyone was abducted any day over what happened in that story, but it was nice that they tried to solve a real life mystery with a Sherlock Holmes stories. Anyways, moving on.
1,000 years from now, there'll be no guys and no girls, just wankers. Sounds great to me.
Oh, okay, this one hurts. I love Douglas Copeland like a lot. But this book is just not it. By the way, it's about like people who work at Microsoft, and it's very like geeky, kind of a portrait of an era, I feel like. But yeah, I couldn't for the life of me get into it, so the reading stretched out for months on end. I think the problem is that the format completely hinders what Douglas is good at. He writes beautiful, long scenes, like domestic, cozy, long situations. And Microsurfs is written like this guy's journal, and if you've ever kept a journal, you know that 90% of it are short notes like, saw my dad today. He was really excited about running 47 miles, a new personal best. We smoked a few cigarettes together after. There's just no time for his style to shine. Case in point, the end is a longer scene and it hits me right in the ribs. It's beautiful because it had time to develop. Anyway, still one of my favorite writers. I'm gonna keep going through his books, but this was just a terrible creative decision.
It's not washing off.
What do you mean it's not washing off?
You know, Dracula, vampire, castle, vampire hunting. You know. This book is very relaxing. Like, I don't think that was the intention, but it is so long and so repetitive, and the whole thing about 19th century books describing the scenery and having long exchanges of pleasantries. For real, I must have fallen asleep like a dozen times while reading Dracula. And please do consider that I take my ADHD medication to read. So, it's like snorting a line of coke before reading and I still manage to fall asleep. It's very well written though, and the sexism is very mild considering the time period. It feels like it's out of true friendship that they're sparing Mina of the worst of the journey and whatever. And yeah, it's true that it's impossible to be alive as a human being and not receive at least one Dracula spoiler over the course of your life. But also, like, there are so many adaptations that there's a pretty good chance that the one you got isn't in the book. I seriously didn't know how it was gonna end. So it was really nice to read, also to find out what's gonna happen. It's a classic. I do think that if you're interested, go for it. Just, don't expect to go through it quickly.
No, you're not getting out of this as a jumping jelly bean. You're coming with me. Dancing can't save you.
It's a new version of The Fall of the House of Usher by Edgar Allan Poe, but more and better. This book is so well written and the main character is so likable. I find that to be very rare with horror books. As I always say, I think horror simply works better with movies. It's really hard to write a book that's actually scary, and unfortunately that also rings true with What Moves the Dead. A scene wouldn't really get to me at first, then I'd spend a little more time imagining how it would look, and then I'd go, oh, that's really freaky actually. But there's also plenty here that's scary and shocking, and the mystery is also really gripping, and I loved it a lot, and I'm gonna read the sequel eventually. But I don't know what's gonna happen because, the story concluded. But something's gonna happen and I'm excited.
Sit down.
A book called The Ship of Theseus, and two people leaving notes to each other in the margins, trying to solve the mystery involving the book, talking about conspiracy theories, etc. This book is so... Obviously the way it's written makes it insanely immersive, with little notes, postcards, and other things stuck in between the pages to help tell the story. There are so many storylines to be invested in. The fictional book, several of the conspiracy theories, the main characters' relationships. It's so rad. I consider myself so lucky for having a physical copy of this. It's just so... I can't explain it, it's just amazing. If you have the opportunity to buy the physical version of S, I don't even know if there's like a decent digital version because it's so like, the whole thing about the book is that it's immersive, so like I don't know what the situation there is, but if you have the opportunity, please buy it and read it. It's amazing.
Let the flag blaze.
Every few hundred years or so, a season happens. A catastrophic, some would say, event. Maybe it would be apocalyptic if the people of this world didn't know for a fact that it was coming and built their entire societies for the express purpose of surviving it. A new one's coming, worse than anything anyone's ever seen. Also, there are people called orogenists, I think that's how you say it, who can manipulate the earth and are marginalized is not even the word. They're absolutely hated by society. And we are orogenists. And our husband killed our son. And we want revenge. Yeah, in the middle of the apocalypse. I usually try to give as brief of a summary as possible, but like, this is it. This is what I can manage. There's so much going on in the 5th season that I can't just be like a sentence, you know what I mean? And this is a fantasy trilogy that's actually completed. Hip hip hooray! And this book is just wow. Every single chapter is a kick to the stomach. It's brutal, and you just want to know more and more and more about this cruel world. Also, yeah, a good chunk of the book is written in the second person, which I had never seen in like a professional book before, and it works so well. And yeah, I loved it a lot. I'm currently in the middle of the Obelisk Gate, which is the second book of the series, and I'm also loving it. It's not as, gut punching as the first one, but that always happens. It's a trilogy, it's the second book, so it's more like developing. But yeah, that was what I read during the second semester. See you maybe in July. I mean, if you only care about the stuff I read, but I post other stuff in this channel. But yeah, like, comment, subscribe, blah 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 blah, and I'll make more videos if an anvil doesn't follow my head. Bye!